Hey everyone, it's Jared Warr with Faljean, Warr & Iyer, and we are a personal injury and workers' comp firm here in beautiful Wheat Ridge, Colorado. I wanted to do a video originally about, hey, look at all the wacky laws in Colorado. And as I started researching it, you find some interesting stuff actually, that there are a lot of common wacky laws in Colorado, but then when I went to get citations for them, they don't actually exist. They're just made up, fun internet stuff that everyone copies and pastes and assumes to be real. If I could find the citation, that's going to be determined as true or verified law. And then we'll have a fun way of doing it where you guys can try and guess whether it's true or verified. And if I could not find the law, the citation for it, or in some cases, they kind of misinterpreted what the actual language was, then that's going to be unverified or false. A couple disclaimers on top of that. Number one is don't use this as some kind of research article. Also, I didn't spend years and months and days researching these. I spent, half an hour each max. We're just here to have a good time. So let's start with our first one. Number one, it is illegal to drive a black car in Denver on Sundays. As you can guess, that one is false. In fact, when you research this one, you find that it's basically internet folklore. Nobody can find the origin. It's probably some spin-off of these old laws that some are still in existence. For example, you can't sell cars on Sundays, but being so specific that it can't be a black car driven on Sundays in Denver, no, that one's not true. All right, number two, it is illegal to have furniture outside in your yard in Boulder. So this one's actually true, at least in part. So you can imagine how this law probably came into being. You've got year-round residents dealing with occasional frats and sororities throwing random furniture out there. So eventually it became law that you can only have certain types of basically outdoor furniture. So all you students over in Boulder, be careful. Number three, it is illegal to loan your neighbor a vacuum cleaner. This one is false. I couldn't find any sort of verification on this whatsoever, and so feel free to continue to loan stuff to your neighbors. Whether you get them back or not, that's on you. All right, number four, it is illegal in Alamosa and Aspen to throw a missile. This one's actually true, and you need to dive into the language of these laws a little bit to understand why, because it sounds crazy, like who's throwing missiles, right? The reason is missile is considered a snowball, it's considered a rock, catapult is also thrown in there. That's another way they phrase this wacky law, is catapults are illegal. So that's what's going on here, is you can't throw stuff at people, so that makes sense. Number five, it is illegal in Vail while you're skiing to crash into obstacles, true or false? So this one is true, which if you're kind of like me, when you initially read it, you're like, yeah, that is kind of wacky, that it's actually illegal. But really what this is a safety law. They don't want you hurting yourself. They don't want you hurting others. So try to avoid trees, poles, netting, all those sort of things. And number six, it is illegal in Westminster to get lost between 9 p.m. and 4 a.m. So this one is actually true, and at first you're like, wait, I can't help it. I'm getting lost. There's nothing I can do about it. But if you look into the language of the statute, it actually is an anti-cruising law. And so essentially what it's saying is you can't go, the real language is you can't go back and forth through kind of a stoplight or whatever multiple times. And if you think about people cruising and showing off their sweet rides, that's what they're doing. They're going up the street, then down the street, then back and through. And so it's a way to prevent people from cruising. Number seven, it is illegal to roll boulders in Boulder. So this one's actually true. This is really a safety rule, and they don't want anybody on public property rolling rocks around, particularly boulders. You can imagine somebody on a hill, and then you look up, and all of a sudden you're a star in a Looney Tunes cartoon as you get smashed by a giant rock. So that's what's really going on here, at least in my interpretation of it. Number eight, it is illegal to mutilate rocks in Denver, true or false? So this one's kind of tough. I'm gonna call it false. And the reason why is because it's not like if you go out and mess with a rock, you're gonna be thrown in jail. It's actually essentially a law built for streets that you shouldn't mess with those. So we don't want potholes, we don't want cracks, we don't want people getting hurt. And so they don't want you to go in there and mess those things up. With the caveat, if you are a government employee, then you're free to go nuts out there and do whatever you need to for your job. Number 9, in Pueblo, you can't have dandelions over 10 inches tall. True or false? So this is kind of like the last one, but I'm gonna tilt it towards being real. And the reason why is they've kind of manipulated this online to be kind of wacky and that like, oh my gosh, you can't have dandelions over 10 inches tall. But what the language is they don't want you having weeds that are essentially out of control. They just want you to be in control of those sort of things. And so it's funnier online if you say you can't have dandelions, but the list is a lot more extensive and it's just about maintenance. Congratulations, you've made it to the end. Our number 10 wacky law is you can use fighting words against police officers in Boulder up until they tell you to stop. So this one's actually true. So if you want to go around and do fisticuffs with everybody, only verbally, you can do that. If you go up against a police officer and they tell you to stop and knock it off, you need to stop doing it, which is kind of weird, but at the same time, aren't we all trying to be a little bit nicer to everybody? So I like this law. Please be kind. Thank you so much for listening to these 10 wacky laws, some of which were, of course, more true than others. As you can see also, a lot of these rules are really hard to interpret and the language gets really crazy. So please reach out to professional lawyers, for example, us. If you have any questions, we do work comp and personal injury and would love to help you navigate through some of these tougher waters. And again, thanks for watching.